We call our liturgical celebration today the Epiphany, a word we use for when the wise men found Jesus. And Epiphany is also what we call this season between Christmas and the season of Lent. We don't call it that just so that we have a name for this brief liturgical season. It's not just hanging onto the coattails of the arrival of the Magi. The upcoming week's Gospels feature shining, striking realizations and manifestations and appearances, which is actually what the word Epiphany means. It doesn't mean the day that the wise men came. It describes the day that the wise men came. In fact, the wise men may be the least of the season's epiphanies. Next week's reading is the baptism of Jesus, when a voice comes from the heavens. After that, John the Baptist sees Jesus and declares, "Here is the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world." Now that's an appearance. On we go. Jesus sees Simon and Andrew and then James and John with their fishing nets and says, "Follow me," and they immediately follow. Talk about having an epiphany. Jesus will give the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, the blessed bees, announcing a striking realization to the people who are eagerly listening, that they are the blessed, and then they are to be the light of the world. The season culminates with the transfiguration of Jesus on the mountaintop, his face shining like the sun, and Moses and Elijah appearing with him. Epiphany. So, in the light of the upcoming voice from heaven and dazzling apparitions on a mountaintop, what is so epiphanous, if I may use a $10 word, for the three wise men showing up that this Sunday owns the word epiphany? Because although the word is usually used for divine appearances, which certainly Christ's birth is, I think the ones who had an epiphany on this day were actually the wise men themselves. They were looking for a king of the Jews who had been foretold. So, of course, they went to the place of highest authority to check in about it, Jerusalem, where the temple is, and to the courts of Herod. Because don't you imagine the wise men were looking for a highly placed king? Think of the very gifts they brought. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh, we're told. Now, how many funny memes are out there about the non-utility of these gifts for a newborn baby? And how deep is Jan Richardson's beautiful poem, "Wise Women Also Came," that includes the stanza, "Wise women also came, and they brought useful gifts, water for labor's washing, fire for warm illumination, a blanket for swaddling." But whoever they were, and whatever they brought, the wise men from the east surely expected a royal king. They observed a star at his rising, and they came to pay him homage. When they came to the house, as the Gospel of Matthew describes it, where the baby was with his mother Mary, don't you imagine they were surprised to find regular people in a humble setting? Yet they saw where the star beckoned, and upon arriving, they were overwhelmed with joy because they recognized Jesus, and they presented the gifts they had brought, and then they went home. What do you think they talked about on their way home? The Gospels never say, and Matthew's is the only gospel that mentions the wise men at all. But what do you imagine? Did they talk about how surprised they were about finding him in the lowly setting? Or did they rather talk about how overwhelmed they were by something special about this infant? We don't know. Did they wonder about the dream they had? Maybe one saying to the other, "Hey, I had this weird dream that we should avoid Herod and go home the long way." And the other saying, OMG, I dreamed the same thing. That's too much coincidence. It must truly be a message. Let's hit the road. And then, what were they going to do with themselves now that they had encountered the newborn king? This wasn't just a sightseeing jaunt. Get his autograph and tweet a selfie out. A star had led them to the Messiah, the anointed one. He could change the world. We don't know what they did or where they went home to even. What we do know is their joy in the rejection of the earthly power, their rejection of Herod, and their embrace of the holy, of the humble new king who would actually change the world, while Herod and his successors would do the same old horrible things that earthly power had always done and continues to do: slaughter and conquer for the sake of power and wealth, indifferent to God's love and the sacredness of all people. The Presbyterian minister Meta Stamper said, "Though the Herods of this world think every story is theirs, they are never the real king, and the kingdom of the one guiding the Holy Family to become refugees from Herod's fear and murder, and guiding the faithful Magi to go home away from Herod's way, this kingdom transcends all the kingdoms of the earth and does not follow their rules." This was a powerful analogy to me, as our country just perpetrated an aggressive act of war whereby not just the targets are affected, but we, the people, in agreement or not, need to name for ourselves and own and deal with what we are becoming in the world that we share and in our own lives. Who is our king? And what does that mean for us? Are we who claim to be followers of Jesus going to be the ones who are having epiphanies in the light of Jesus throughout this season of Epiphany and this season in our lives and in the world? I say again, in the Gospels of Epiphany, we will hear the voice from heaven call, "This is my beloved Son." Is the life and teaching of the beloved Son of God an epiphany for us in a culture that values domination for profit? When John the Baptist declares, "Here is the Lamb of God," is that a revelation for us in how to live? When Jesus himself says, "Follow me," are we ready to drop our nets, our egos, our prejudices, our own areas of worship, of power and prestige, and follow the one who says, "Blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek, blessed are the merciful, blessed are the peacemakers"? Are we ready to have over and over again an epiphany in our own lives, in our imperfect but perfectly beloved of God humanity? Are we ready to continually try to live into our call as Christians? Called to be the light of the world, called to hear the voice that calls out from the mountaintop, "Listen to him." This is the Epiphany. Everything about Jesus is a shining, striking realization, a startling manifestation. Listen to him. Following him in this world of empire can absolutely feel like the long way. It certainly is the other way. The way the wise men took. The way that eschews and thwarts the machinations of empire. But come on, we know that the only way is the way of Jesus. Can we, like the imagined wise women, bring what is truly needed to a world in need? The all-encompassing love of the Jesus Christ that we follow, and nurture that spirit in our hearts and in our actions. this day and every day in our lives and in our hearts, we need to be led by that star and to be the light of the world.